Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Battle Rush seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which we have just 8 seconds to take our turn and 15 seconds to choose our cards in between rounds. Today we're playing an updated version of one of the decks that we've used before, and it got a ton of buffs from the most recent patch, so let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Scoia'Tael Mahakam Forged Dwarves deck, because Dwarves primarily have deploy, not order abilities, which makes them much easier to play in such a short turn, making them a great choice in this event, and of course they just got a ton of buffs from the most recent patch. So pretty much all you need to know about Dwarves is that they gain power from having more Dwarves in the same row as them. So that means you want to start playing Dwarves in a row, and then go all in on that row, and all you really need to do planning-wise is to know which Dwarves you want to play early in the round and which Dwarves you want to play later on in the round. So for early round, you can play Xavier, who does need to be in the melee row, so don't panic and play him in the range row when you're starting to run out of time. But he will get boosted by 1 every turn whenever he has armor, and he gains 1 armor whenever we play a dwarf, and since our deck is entirely dwarves and we're playing a dwarf basically every turn, even if he gets damaged, he's going to get that armor back very quickly and continue to be a 1 point per turn engine. Another early option is Brouver, who will get a bunch of armor when we play him, and then boost all other dwarves in the row that have armor at the end of our turn. And because we have a bunch of dwarves, with Mahakam Forge, every dwarf in our starting deck gets 1 armor, and we have additional ways to get even more armor on top of that. Brouver is almost certainly going to be our biggest engine. And then early-ish in the round, we can play Zoltan Warrior, who damages 2 units, and we can remove them with 3 damage, or if they survive, we can spawn in 2 rowdy dwarves, which helps us to flood our rows with more dwarves, which again makes a bunch of our dwarves more powerful, and also sets up some of our other cards for more specific things. Like Munro, who, once we have some rowdy dwarves on the board, can convert them into Dwarf Berserkers, which have higher base power and deal damage every turn. Speaking of getting a whole bunch of dwarves on the board early, Zoltan's Company is the best way to do that, and if you don't have Zoltan Warrior, this is for sure a reliable way of getting more rowdy dwarves on the board, because we have every single Zoltan in our starting deck, which means this gives us 5 rowdy dwarves, making this arguably the best card in this entire deck. Then we have the new Giantslayer card, which is another one that you probably want to play on the early side because we choose an opposing unit, ideally one that is not super powerful because we're going to deal damage to it every turn, and once it gets destroyed, then Giantslayer will gain resilience. If you choose a unit that's bigger than Giantslayer, then you'll get some additional armor to help keep Giantslayer alive, but of course that means it's going to take longer to get rid of that opposing unit, so you risk not getting that resilience. And of course it can still give you that damage in round 3, but since the resilience is the main reason why you're playing this card, it's ideally something you play in either round 1 or round 2. Then we have 2 Dwarf Berserkers in our starting deck, and of course, like we were saying before, they deal damage every turn as long as they have that armor. Then as we're getting to mid-round, we can play Yarpen for a little bit of damage, and if we have more ways to give him armor, then we can continue to get him boosted up. And one of those ways would be to play a Wagenburg next to him. And another mid-round way to get a bunch of dwarves on the board would be to play Mahakam Volunteers, assuming that we already have a dwarf in that row, then we get the other one out from our deck. And this is the only card that you really need to be keeping an eye out for in your starting hand, because obviously you don't want to have both of them in your starting hand, otherwise that doesn't work. Then technically Gabor Zigrin can be sort of a mid-round play because he is actually an engine, gets boosted by 1 every time we play a dwarf, and obviously we're going to be playing a lot of dwarves. The thing is, because he has resilience when we play him in the melee row, which is usually what we're going to want to do, you tend to want to play him late so that your opponent has less time to respond and get rid of him. We can also finish with Zoltan for resilience and boost some adjacent units, and or play Dennis to boost adjacent units by their amount of armor, play Zoltan in the range row to boost all of our cards in one of our rows. Similarly, use Barclay to boost all of our dwarves that have armor. And or play Mahakam Guard in one of those rows with a bunch of dwarves to give it a big boost. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, it is quite simple. Just play a bunch of dwarves in the same row, and at least have a general sense of the order in which you want to play them. And of course, this type of deck worked for us when we tried it out previously. However, with all the recent dwarf buffs, now it should be much stronger. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And we'll go first. Okay, so let's see. We have 1 volunteer, that's fine, as long as we don't have both of them. We have some rowdy dwarf generation to go with Munro. That's actually a lot, so that's great. Then, needs Mahakam Guard, we can set that up quickly. Marauder I think we have a way to get enough armor for that to be significant. Why don't we start, though, with Xavier? And that could become a very highly armored unit to set up the Mahakam Marauder. Okay, they're going to give it bleeding. Now, fortunately, the bleeding doesn't mess with the armor. And that is, in many ways, what we care most about. So, I think we go Mahakam Volunteers here. It's not the biggest of plays, because if we went Zoltan first, then we could have generated points a little more quickly. But then again, we want to have more targets for that. This would actually destroy those Bruxa rather than spawning Rowdy Dwarves. But you know what? That might still be worth it, because these are technically engines, since they do have Thrive. I am expecting for this to mostly be a Vampires deck, since they're Blood Scent rather than Thrive. But even with that being said, I think still somewhat dangerous. The Necrorat, though, that's probably even more of a threat. So, what if we put Figgis down here, actually? And then I'd like to give him when we get the chance. I just don't think we have time to get Crystal Skull on him on this turn for sure, but that way we can give Veil to the one card that they can apply poison to, making it much harder for these Necrorats to do their thing. So let's do that, and then let's go maybe even Zoltan. For the carryover. Oh, tell you what, Gabor is technically not only Resilience, but he's also an engine, so we should definitely play him. Yeah, they're going to pass. Okay, so that's fine. We'll take the round 1 win. And I think we are probably going to push here in round 2, because we have that Resilience unit, and we have another Resilience unit that we can put on the board, so it does give us some carryover going into not only round 2, but round 3 as well. Okay, have we lost our best sources of armored units, though? Perhaps we have. These guys are going to lose armor over time, so that means maybe the Marauders no longer a great fit. The Agitator technically can help set it up. So, alright, I suppose, in that case, if we're looking to push, why don't we go, where are you? The Agitator. Give the armor to you, and I guess you? Yeah, it's not stacking as much armor as possible on one unit, which is technically the best way to set up the Marauder, but, of course, as soon as we play Gabor, he's going to be a target. Okay, again with the Bleed. And Blood Moon is a little discouraging. I'm tempted to pass there, to tell you the truth. Because, I mean, the Agitator did kind of sort of give us some carryover with the armor, I suppose. And we forced them to play that Crimson Curse, which is a very strong card, so rather just avoid that, I think. And it means we'll play Gabor in the range row to give him immunity, which is pretty helpful, given how they're going to be trying to target us with all those bleed attempts. And Brouver is a definitely huge pickup. So I love that. Let's get rid of the Giantslayer, not so meaningful in round 3. Okay, it's Carathier first, probably for Unseen Elder? No, they can't do that, it's too big. Aridin? Really? That surprises me. It's Brouver first. Brouver followed by, well, probably Gabor. Those are our 2 primary engines, and then we can get some damage out here. That armor is going to go away because of that frost damage after a bit of time here. Ooh, unfortunately, as well, we are no longer... We had Dominus for a split second there. No longer the case, though. Are you gonna switch Frost into... Yes? Blood Moon? It's a little bit odd. In some ways, we actually prefer that. So now let's go Zoltan's Company, because that makes Brouver incredibly powerful. Technically, we are going to convert these guys into Rowdy Dwarves with Munro on our next turn in all likelihood. But we can then do that to remove the bleed on you. So that is, I think, still the direction we're going to want to take, yeah. Okay, I'm actually going to wait, though, because I'm concerned about us. I hesitated for a second there. Oh, okay, well, that was a very smart play, though. As long as you don't destroy it. Again, we're just going to convert the ones that are most in need here. And then why don't we go Wagenburg to load up on additional armor for these guys so that they continue to both deal damage and maintain the armor. Then we can get another one out here on our next turn. Okay, Brouver notably does not have armor anymore. So let's change that by using a leader ability on him to give him more armor. Then Yarpen gives us some damage, which cannot yet remove anything super significant. Okay, so I think what we do here is we get boosted based on the armor on you. You have the most right now. Then Yarpen for damage can remove anything big. Can remove N Aridin, but since they aren't actually going with the Frost, it's not all that significant. I mean, might still go for it here. We're going to leave space, though. Oh, they have a Cape Troll. They have a Cape Troll. I mean, could do 1 damage to Ekimara, I suppose. Maybe that was slightly better, but needed to make space for the Mahakam Guard here in the range room. Need to make sure we still have room for that. So Brouver is basically shut down at this point, but he has, for the most part, done his job. He's given us lots of boosts, so can't complain about that, and we've gotten a lot of damage from these Dwarf Berserkers as well. So that's great, and we'll finish with the Dwarven Mercenary. Not the biggest of point slams. Regis will be a huge point slam, of course. Is that enough for them, though? It looks like it may not be. We already have the win, and we don't even need to play this last card. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And they'll go first. Okay, so we have Rowdy Dwarf Generation. Do we have anything we need to convert those Rowdy Dwarves with? No, although Zoltan Scoundrel can turn those bunch of dwarves into additional points. Let's get rid of some of our more provision costs. Well, then again, with Zoltan's company, even Mahakam Guards can be very dangerous in a short round. Yawn. Okay, so they are clearly up to something here. They are trying to set something up for probably round 3. What if we just casually drop that? And it's gonna take a while to take out Yawn, but it does give us some armor on the Giantslayer, and it's the beginning of the round, so it's possible. And I actually think they are gonna play really long in round 1, because they'll do whatever it takes to win round 1. That's usually the case with Yawn. Oh, okay, well I don't love that, though. In which case, I mean, I guess we're going to put Figgis down. We might even look to play Figgis now. Because what we can do then is that gives us a unit with a bunch of armor. We can play Wagenburg next to Figgis and give him even more armor. Stop messing with Figgis and our other units, please. So we shall see if Figgis lasts here. My guess is he will not, by the looks of things. It's a very click-heavy deck. That's a bold strategy, but, I mean, at this point, it is one of our best cards, but I think we might need to break out the Zoltan's company for all these dwarves here. And at this point, it doesn't matter too much who they're poisoning. We've gone pretty wide, so why don't we? I think we're probably looking at Mahakam Guards now. Could get a few more dwarves out there first, but it's between Mahakam Guards and Barclay, both of whom are looking for as many dwarves as possible. Okay, Tourney Joust. I mean, this Wagenburg was not really doing too much anymore anyways. Do this. Then next turn is Barclay, then after that will be Zoltan Range Row. Okay, yeah, they're trying to take out this Mahakam Guard. We do have, I mean, at least those guys are relatively tall, of course. There's Barclay. That's pretty big. Zoltan should be pretty big as well. Okay, Terra Nova, who have they given spying to? A Mahakam Guard, they don't really have much in the way of dwarves, so it's not going to do much for them. So then we go Zoltan, I mean, actually, we could go Zoltan in the melee row and damage all their cards over there. That certainly would have been an option, to tell you the truth. But at this point, we haven't quite gotten as much armor as I would like here. So I think this might just barely be enough. And by that I mean it is just barely enough. So yes, we will take the round 1 win. It was looking pretty iffy there, but we made it work. Okay, so Zoltan is obviously a big pickup. Mahakam Volunteers, we've not yet thinned out the other one. Dwarven Agitator can theoretically work with the Marauder, although I'm not sure this is a significant enough combo to be worthwhile. This is big, though. I like that a lot. Alright, switching you out. Okay, suddenly this looks much better. Potentially strong enough to justify pushing here in round 2. Could have gone Xavier first, but just would have been a little awkward, I think. And force limited. Using Emir as a bit of a throwaway. That's odd. I mean, they did get enough spy generation that perhaps they already played Terra Nova, so maybe they've done most of their spy stuff already. Okay, definitely don't want a second Mahakam Volunteers in our hand. And Giantslayer doesn't really help us all that much in round 3. So I think first it's Xavier. Then it's probably Zoltan. Then it's Munro. And then we take it from there. But we know they're likely going to hit us with a whole bunch of locks and poisons, and so the Masquerade Ball is not really much of a surprise here. But we'll go Zoltan, and with Zoltan, we'll hit these Thirsty Dames and drop them down to 1 point apiece. Which means on our next turn, we can convert those, or actually one of them is going to get destroyed immediately by Zoltan. We can convert these guys with Munro on our next turn and deal some more damage. Kind of curious who they're going for on the lock then. Okay, well, we can still do this. And I think we want to get the damage out here as quickly as possible. Then maybe Yarpen to finish off this Thirsty Dame, because, yeah, they're going to try to get some more statuses out here. This is 3 damage, and that's about to be a lot more boosts on you. Yeah. Okay, so maybe in that case, just go Volunteers here. Get the other one out from our deck, go wide, and we cannot catch this. We cannot destroy it in time. On a Henrietta. Thanks the Empire. Get rid of Xavier. Okay, so I mean it. Oh, and use our leader ability as well. Let's go Yarpen. And then we'll damage, I guess, you, just because why not? We'll at least give it a shot. And I think what we do is we go Mahakam Forge on Yarpen, and then Mahakam Marauder, probably on Yarpen as well. And that's just not super effective. Okay, it's this. And then it's that. Technically, it could have been any of a number of people, but yeah, we actually don't need to put them in the melee row. Maybe it's best if we don't. So what's their last card here? They're going to destroy Zoltan, which is not actually that big of a removal play. They did not catch us, and we still had one more card to play. So they'll forfeit. Alright, so going up against Scoia'Tael here, and it looks like there's a chance this might be a mirror match. Okay, let's see. We have one Mahakam Volunteers. We have the other, yes, let's get rid of that. And other than that, we can probably make this work. Do we have some Rowdy Dwarf generation to go with Munro? I think we do with Zoltan, so that should be fine. Okay, they'll start with Dunka. I think we're probably going to start with Xavier. So let's play him. Because he will generate value over time. Now, if we'd like to, we can get the Mahakam Volunteers down there as well. But is there anything else that is useful to do as early as possible? I mean, Zoltan to set up the Rowdy Dwarves, but I'm not sure that is so urgent that we must do it right now. Let's get the thinning first. And if we can get armor on adjacent units, that would be nice. Xavier is definitely going to get a lot of armor, so maybe we even go Wagenburg here. And load up on the armor there. On these guys, well, I mean, technically Wagenburg is going to be the unit there, but... okay, they're going after Wagenburg. I mean, sure, I guess. So, I suppose we can go that route and get some more dwarves out here. And then we can convert those dwarves into rowdy dwarves on our next turn. Okay, got rid of one of them, which does kind of stink. But I think we're probably still looking to do that here. Oh, actually, we could have gone... Yeah, I forgot about Zoltan's company. This would have been a way to get more dwarves to convert with Munro. That definitely would have been preferable. Let's see. So, they have played one more card than us. They have not passed us here. So, I think we do pass. They are going to get a boost out of you, but we're getting some additional damage. And, okay, Gabor Zigrin for the resilience, yes. But at what cost? Because they go 2 cards down here. Speaking of which, we have a couple of resilience units ourselves, including Gabor Zigrin. Now, of course, Gabor Zigrin is not enough to outscore Gabor Zigrin unless we use a leader ability charge as well, but that may be fine, and I think we try getting rid of you. And Brouver is a great pickup, so yeah, let's stick with this. So I'm curious if they try to play, they do. Alright, so in that case, I think we go Gabor. Yeah, they're trying to point slam to force us into playing a little more aggressively here. I think we still go Gabor for the resilience, and we probably do go for our leader ability as well. So it's not enough for us to catch them yet, but it should give them some pause here. Okay, they're trying to push pretty hard, it seems, so I think we go Brouver next. And we're basically prepping to go all in this round if needed, and then because we'll have the resilience on not only Gabor, but Zoltan as well, then it should be pretty hard for them to keep up with us in round 3 if it's a short round. So, alright, let's see. I think we go Zoltan's company here. Get as many dwarves out there as possible, and with Brouver, that means we are generating a ton of points every turn. Next turn, we'd like to get Zoltan in there to get more resilience. We'll see if we've discouraged them from playing further, but no, they're still going to go for it. They have gotten rid of some of our armor. But I think we probably still go there. And we have pretty much caught them here. This is going to make matters rather difficult for them. It's a strong play with Munro, for sure. But what if we go with Dennis? Unfortunately, we don't really have room for the Mahakam Guard, so it's either going to be Dennis or it's going to be that Mahakam Guard. But we can go Zoltan and boost this row, which would be pretty huge. Force Protector, I'm a little bit surprised. Is that going to be sufficient? Okay, I think we actually can pass, because Brouver's boost will give us enough points here. So we have 3 card advantage going into round 3, and 2 cards with resilience. And for that reason, they forfeit. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And we'll go first. Okay, we have Figgis, we have Munro, which means we want to have some Rowdy Dwarf generation, which we do with Zoltan. So that's fine. Carry over with Gabor Zigrin. Dennis can work well with Brouver. I mean, this looks pretty much fine. Just a matter of what we're going to want to lead off with here, and it may even be Brouver. Big play. And they are monsters, so we are really hoping for not a predatory dive. That would be the single worst thing here. Or Imperial Manticore, and immediately that getting destroyed. Okay, they have punished us for our hubris. So, in which case, why don't we instead play, I don't know, Figgis? We need some additional targets for Zoltan, then once we get those down there, we can convert Rowdy Dwarves into Dwarf Berserkers, but can't really do that yet. It's a pretty aggressive move in round 1 after playing many of our biggest cards. And after losing our, was going to be, most important card in round 1, we'll go pretty aggressively here, I suppose. Okay, they're obviously going to try to consume that Rot Fiend at some point in time. So now, I mean, technically speaking, the earlier we play Gabor, the better. So he is also an engine, in addition to having resilience. And yeah, we're going to want to play Munro to convert, although... Okay, that's where the consumption comes in. It hits our defender. Fortunately, we do have a lot of armor. So, it does mean that we aren't actually taking much of that damage. We're mitigating most of it from the armor. But, okay, what are they going to seize? Whole lot. But it's the Dwarf Berserkers. We were just talking about how the armor was hopefully going to protect us, and we're about to see if that is, in fact, actually the case, or not. Okay, Harpy Egg. Again, with Weavis out there, all that stuff is going to get that Deathwish triggered immediately. Need to go Yarpen? We might need to go Yarpen. And with Yarpen, we can hit Weavis. We're not going to have enough damage to take her out, unfortunately. And we don't have much in the way of armor right now to set up Dennis, unfortunately. So we're probably looking for Mahakam Guard or Dennis next to these two, which is rather uninspiring. And I think we might need to use our stratagem here as well, because we did have a slight lead, but they are making life difficult for us here for sure. More consumption, more damage. I mean, we don't have that much armor out here, but maybe we do go Barclay. Just get a little more boosting happening and more dwarves to set up Mahakam Guard as our finisher. So, okay. At the very least, yes, we have won round 1, but we invested a whole lot in order to make that happen. Okay, but we may suddenly have the tools to push here for the 2-0 win, because Zoltan's Company is a great point slam, and it sets up Zoltan's Scoundrel quite well if we go in the range row with that. Don't think we're going to need Wagenburg. Mahakam Guard, with the Zoltan Company spawning in all those rowdy dwarves, actually can still work in a short round as well. So I think the key here is that we go this first. Okay, Cave Troll. We're at least forcing them to play some big cards that they were perhaps not thinking they were going to need to play in round 2. We'll go another Mahakam Guard, and then we'll finish with Zoltan in the range row. So we're putting the pressure on them all of a sudden. We just... what do they... Oh, I mean, you're actually giving us quite solid cards here. So, thank you for that. Because suddenly, this becomes much more significant, and we could even move Figgis if we'd like. In fact, I think we will, because we're going to use Zoltan to boost this melee row. And so having another dwarf for that melee row is quite useful. Baracus Queen to consume... Well, I mean, we're going to lose a rowdy... Oh, no, we'll lose a Dwarf Berserker and a rowdy dwarf, and it does mean that Zoltan's a little bit weaker here, unfortunately. But I think maybe we... nah, we'll go leader ability. I was going to say maybe we hold on to it and give us a little more in round 3 in case we don't prove successful here, but we have a big enough lead that I think you can justify. Okay, and we lose one of our smaller cards, but Parasite is not going to be enough here, I don't think. And leader ability charges won't suffice, so we'll take the win. So there's a look at the Scoia'Tael Dwarves deck for the new Battle Rush seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.